Welcome back to Crime Curtain. Tonight we uncover the chilling murder of Amie Harwick, where obsession, control, and violence collide in darkness. The early morning hours of February 15, 2020, draped the exclusive Hollywood Hills neighborhood in a heavy, deeply unsettling silence. Suddenly, that fragile peace was violently shattered by the horrifying sound of breaking glass, followed almost instantly by blood-chilling cries for help tearing through the absolute darkness. Beneath a third-story balcony, a beautiful young woman lay barely breathing, her completely broken body surrounded by jagged shards of glass and the scattered black beads of a torn rosary. She had spent her life helping others heal from their darkest trauma. But what no one knew was, she was living in a nightmare of her own. And this frigid night would be the last time she was seen alive. Dr. Amie Harwick was 38 years old. She was a brilliant and vibrant woman who radiated an undeniable energy to everyone around her. To anyone looking from the outside, her life in Los Angeles appeared completely flawless. She possessed striking beauty, an attribute that initially led her directly into modeling. However, Amie was never satisfied with simply being a beautiful face in a crowded city. She was deeply intelligent and driven by a profound desire to make a tangible difference in the world. Trading the flash of cameras for the quiet intensity of academic study, she pursued higher education relentlessly. She eventually earned a doctorate in clinical psychology, transforming herself into a highly respected licensed marriage and family therapist. Amie found her true calling not in the glamour of Hollywood, but in the trenches of healing. She became a fierce advocate for those who often found themselves marginalized by society. As a compassionate professional, she dedicated her life to helping vulnerable women, survivors of domestic, and individuals working within the sex industry. She offered them a safe space, a strong voice, and the critical tools they desperately needed to rebuild their shattered lives. Her practice was thriving and expanding. Her clients did not just see her as a doctor, they saw her as a beacon of genuine hope. She understood the heavy burden of trauma, and she worked tirelessly to lift that immense weight off the shoulders of others. She was rapidly becoming a very recognizable public figure everywhere. She frequently appeared on popular podcasts and television shows to champion mental health awareness. Her personal life occasionally mirrored the high-profile nature of her professional success. She famously entered a relationship with the beloved television star and comedian Drew Carey. Their romance blossomed publicly, eventually leading to a celebrated engagement. This relationship captured the immediate attention of the media. Yet, despite the allure of celebrity security and the immense comfort such a union might provide, Amie made a deeply personal choice. She realized that the intense spotlight of Hollywood fame threatened to overshadow her clinical work and compromise personal safety. Choosing her independence and her patience over a life of dazzling red carpets, she amicably ended the engagement. Amie wanted to stand entirely on her own 2 feet. She purchased her own beautiful home nestled high in the quiet hills, creating a personal sanctuary where she could safely retreat daily. She needed this peaceful space after long days of absorbing the emotional pain of others. By all accounts, she had successfully built a magnificent reality. She was an empowered, fiercely independent woman at the absolute peak of her career, surrounded by a close circle of loyal friends who adored her. Everything seemed perfectly aligned for a very long, prosperous, and incredibly impactful future. She was finally living the exact beautiful life that she had always envisioned and worked so incredibly hard to achieve against every single obstacle. Behind the perfect facade, a sinister shadow from her past was quietly waiting. 10 years prior, in 2010, a fateful encounter introduced Amie to a photographer named Gareth. Initially, he appeared charming, a fellow creative spirit navigating the bustling Los Angeles scene. Their romance blossomed swiftly, but the charming facade quickly cracked, revealing a deeply twisted reality. The relationship rapidly devolved into a toxic nightmare as his intense jealousy boiled over into something far more sinister. Gareth became wildly possessive, seeking to control every single aspect of her daily existence. His uncontrollable anger manifested in horrifying physical violence. He repeatedly subjected her to unimaginable terror. He would violently throw her down to the floor during their arguments. Even more terrifyingly, he began suffocating her, wrapping his hands tightly around her delicate throat to assert his absolute dominance. The constant escalated so severely that Amie genuinely feared for her own life. Recognizing the immense danger she was in, she bravely fought back through the formal legal system. In 2012, she successfully secured a restraining order against him. For a brief period, the court mandate provided a fragile shield against her persistent. However, a standard piece of paper could never truly contain his completely sick obsession. When the legal protection finally expired, Gareth did not simply move on with his pathetic life. Instead, his dark fixation grew increasingly pathological and extremely covert. He fully transformed into a malicious phantom, carefully orchestrating a silent campaign of psychological torture. Amie soon began experiencing deeply unsettling events in her personal space. She would frequently return to her private apartment to find her safe sanctuary deliberately violated. An unknown intruder, leaving absolutely no obvious signs of forced entry, would sneakily break inside just to steal her deeply personal family photographs. Her personal computer hard drives were completely wiped clean of all data, permanently erasing precious digital memories and highly crucial work files. Though she could not legally prove that it was Gareth, she already knew the terrifying truth deep within her tired bones. He was constantly lurking just out of plain sight, sometimes casually standing silently right outside her front door in the absolute dead of night. His disturbing harassment very soon bled directly into the expansive digital world, where he relentlessly smeared her pristine professional reputation across various online internet platforms, deliberately leaving exceptionally vile comments specifically to destroy the brilliant career she had painstakingly built from scratch. Amie intelligently took every single possible security precaution, meticulously installing advanced security cameras everywhere and continuously sharing her live geographical location directly with multiple highly trusted friends. As several long years slowly passed entirely without any further direct physical contact, she very slowly began to finally believe that she had actually escaped his extremely suffocating iron grip. She genuinely thought that she was now entirely safe, confidently moving forward with her vibrant life. She truly believed that the absolute worst was permanently behind her. He was just a distant ghost now. She was finally free now. But the nightmare was only just beginning. The fragile illusion of safety that Amie had painstakingly built was violently shattered in January 2020. While attending the XBiz Awards, a professional event where she was a scheduled speaker, she came face to face with her worst nightmare. Gareth Pursehouse was there, working as a photographer. They had not seen each other in nearly a decade, yet his obsessive rage had not dimmed by a single degree. His reaction upon seeing her was immediate, explosive, and terrifying. The charming photographer facade dissolved instantly, revealing the monstrous beneath. He began screaming at her in a public hallway, his voice trembling with pathological fury. Among the chaotic noise of the event, witnesses heard his chilling accusation. The terrifying encounter left Amie completely shaken to her core. Her therapeutic training could not protect her from this raw, unhinged aggression. The encounter ignited a profound and paralyzing fear within her. Returning home, she immediately took action, sharing her live geographical location data continuously with her closest friends, a silent signal for help should she suddenly vanish. She desperately hoped this precaution would never be necessary. She was wrong. Exactly 1 month later, on the night of Valentine's Day, February 14, 2020, Amie was out late celebrating with a group of friends. She was happy, surrounded by love and laughter, unaware that the shadow had already moved from the periphery and was now inside her sanctuary. Earlier that frigid night, Gareth had meticulously executed his sinister plan. He navigated the quiet hills, broke through a French door by shattering the glass, and entered her bedroom. Once inside, he did not simply wait in the corner, he climbed into her unmade bed, lying beneath her covers for 4 long, agonizing hours. He lay there in the absolute darkness, marinating in his lethal obsession, waiting patiently for the woman he claimed to love to return so he could kill her. Around 1 in the morning on February 15th, Amie finally arrived home alone. She walked upstairs to her bedroom, likely exhausted from the long night, and was immediately confronted by Gareth. Total deadly chaos ensued. He lunged at her, and Amie fought with every ounce of strength she possessed against his much larger frame. Downstairs, her roommate, Michael Herman, was suddenly jolted awake by the sound of her blood-curdling screams. Terrified and unable to find his phone, he fled the house, scaling a spiked iron fence to find a neighbor who could call emergency services. Within minutes, a panicked neighbor dialed 911, relaying Michael's frantic and horrifying account of the assault. The official 911 recording captured the terror in the neighbor's voice as they spoke to the emergency operator.
I want to reduce the operator 434.
Yeah, somebody just attacked my roommate. We're at 2086 Mound Street. Find anything.
Okay, how was the assaulted? What happened?
It's a C. I don't know. I was downstairs. I heard screaming. Please get a cop here.
Okay, this is who's screaming inside?
Can't think right now. Amie Harwick.
I mean, who is she to you, sir?
She's my roommate.
Okay. Is she screaming for help?
Yes.
Okay. Did you see anything?
No.
Okay, so
No, I heard her screaming, and I heard her being...
All right, so I'm going to send out that somebody's screaming, okay? Since you didn't see anything. You don't know if she's being attacked, you're not sure.
Yes, I know she's being attacked. I heard her got thrown to the ground.
Relaying the nightmare Michael had just escaped, those frantic words would be the first indication that something truly horrific had taken place. What happened next would shock everyone. The fragile illusion of safety that Amie had painstakingly built was violently shattered in January 2020. While attending the XBiz Awards, a professional event where she was a scheduled speaker, she came face to face with her worst nightmare. Gareth Pursehouse was there, working as a photographer. They had not seen each other in nearly a decade, yet his obsessive rage had not dimmed by a single degree. His reaction upon seeing her was immediate, explosive, and terrifying. The charming photographer facade dissolved instantly, revealing the monstrous beneath. He began screaming at her in a public hallway, his voice trembling with pathological fury. Among the chaotic noise of the event, witnesses heard his chilling accusation. The terrifying encounter left Amie completely shaken to her core. Her therapeutic training could not protect her from this raw, unhinged aggression. The encounter ignited a profound and paralyzing fear within her. Returning home, she immediately took action, sharing her live geographical location data continuously with her closest friends, a silent signal for help should she suddenly vanish. She desperately hoped this precaution would never be necessary. She was wrong. Exactly 1 month later, on the night of Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2020, Amie was out late celebrating with a group of friends. She was happy, surrounded by love and laughter, unaware that the shadow had already moved from the periphery and was now inside her sanctuary. Earlier that frigid night, Gareth had meticulously executed his sinister plan. He navigated the quiet hills, broke through a French door by shattering the glass, and entered her bedroom. Once inside, he did not simply wait in the corner, he climbed into her unmade bed, lying beneath her covers for 4 long, agonizing hours. He lay there in the absolute darkness, marinating in his lethal obsession, waiting patiently for the woman he claimed to love to return so he could kill her. Around 1 in the morning on February 15th, Amie finally arrived home alone. She walked upstairs to her bedroom, likely exhausted from the long night, and was immediately confronted by Gareth. Total deadly chaos ensued. He lunged at her, and Amie fought with every ounce of strength she possessed against his much larger frame. Downstairs, her roommate, Michael Herman, was suddenly jolted awake by the sound of her blood-curdling screams. Terrified and unable to find his phone, he fled the house, scaling a spiked iron fence to find a neighbor who could call emergency services. Within minutes, a panicked neighbor dialed 911, relaying Michael's frantic and horrifying account of the assault. The official 911 recording captured the terror in the neighbor's voice as they spoke to the emergency operator, relaying the nightmare Michael had just escaped. Those frantic words would be the first indication that something truly horrific had taken place. What happened next would shock everyone. As the intense, grueling interrogation of Michael Herman continued steadily at the local Los Angeles police precinct, the entire trajectory of the complex homicide investigation experienced a massive, sudden shift. The deeply suspicious crimson blood coating his trembling hands and his torn clothing were quickly given a devastating but perfectly innocent explanation. Detectives successfully acquired crucial video footage captured by a sophisticated security doorbell camera mounted securely on a neighboring residential property. This unblinking digital eye silently watched the frantic aftermath unfold. The completely clear surveillance video irrefutably proved that Michael was telling the absolute truth. It clearly showed him desperately running from door to door, frantically knocking and begging for any neighbor to call for emergency medical help immediately after he bravely scaled the rusted, spiked iron fence to escape. However, the neighboring security camera held another, far more chilling secret hidden deep within its digital memory. What no one knew was that the true killer had been recorded. When investigators meticulously rewound the recorded video timeline back to exactly 9 o'clock that evening, they witnessed a terrifying, ghostly figure creeping silently through the quiet shadows. A massive, towering man, deliberately wearing heavy black leather work gloves, was captured stealthily approaching the private property. Knowing exactly what he was doing, he boldly reached up with his gloved hand to completely cover the camera lens before effortlessly leaping over the boundary fence and silently disappearing into the dark courtyard below. Simultaneously, detectives reached out to Amie's closest confidant, her very best friend named Robert. When they delivered the absolutely devastating news of her brutal, senseless murder, Robert was instantly crushed. But he immediately knew exactly who was responsible. He provided investigators with a monumental, completely game-changing piece of information. He tearfully recounted the full extent of Amie's profound, lingering terror and shared a dark, chillingly prophetic statement she had explicitly made to him just weeks prior. She had looked him directly in the eyes and solemnly declared that if anything exceptionally bad ever happened to her, the violent person responsible was undeniably Gareth.
They asked who I thought might have done this. Did she have any enemies? She literally said, if anything ever happens to me, it's Gareth.
Armed with a specific suspect name, the diligent investigators rapidly connected the scattered, bloody dots left behind. They carefully compared a known police photograph of Gareth Pursehouse directly next to the grainy, dark still image pulled from the neighbor's doorbell footage. The towering height, the heavy build, and the broad physical silhouette were an absolute undeniable match. Furthermore, the mysterious bright red blood found smeared heavily near the shattered French doors downstairs was urgently tested in the advanced forensic laboratory. The highly anticipated, conclusive scientific results came back incredibly quickly, finally providing the ultimate, irrefutable piece of hard evidence. The violent intruder had accidentally cut himself while violently breaking the heavy glass. The freshly spilled blood was a perfect, precise genetic match to the unique DNA profile of the abusive ex-boyfriend, Gareth Pursehouse. The horrifying puzzle was finally completely solved. The chilling reality finally came to light. The monster from her past had never really left. A specialized combined task force of FBI agents and Los Angeles Police Department officers established a tight perimeter around Gareth Pursehouse's Playa del Rey residence just before sunset on February 16, 2020. Knowing they were dealing with a deeply dangerous individual, they utilized advanced surveillance to monitor his every move. As he casually walked toward his parked vehicle, looking completely unbothered, the highly trained team swarmed. Guns were drawn, authoritative commands echoed through the air, and he was instantly forced down to the hard asphalt. Gareth did not struggle. He went completely limp, his face a perfectly blank mask of chilling, remorseless indifference as the metal handcuffs clicked tightly shut around his large wrists. While being booked at the police precinct, detectives carefully documented undeniable physical evidence of a violent, recent struggle coating his monstrous body. A prominent dark purple bruise discolored the area around his left eye. Even more damning was a deep, painful human bite mark clearly visible on his right bicep. This graphic injury provided powerful, undeniable proof that Amie had fought back with immense, courageous bravery against her giant attacker, clawing and biting for her very existence until her exceptionally last, final breath. While Gareth sat in a secure holding cell, a thorough forensic search of his residential property was meticulously carried out. Investigators discovered multiple additional empty medical syringes, identical to the toxic one found in the frigid night air on Amie's bedroom balcony. But the absolute twisted nature of his sick and truly unimaginable depravity was fully revealed by the automated 24-hour jailhouse telephone recording system. In subsequent calls made shortly after his sensational arrest, Gareth was heard casually laughing and joking with his associates, seemingly energized by his evil notoriety. He did not ask once about Amie or express even a single molecule of human regret. Instead, with a horrifyingly remorseless perspective, he was actively strategizing on how to financially exploit the terrifying nightmare he had single-handedly created. He callously calculated that his newfound infamous celebrity status could make him exceptionally wealthy, eagerly planning to publish his collection of old, pathetic stand-up comedy jokes. He deludedly believed he could sell these terrible routines for millions of dollars to the eagerly waiting public. Just 4 days later, February 20th, 2020, a shocking administrative error temporarily allowed Gareth to post a very high $2 million bail. He was immediately released into the public afternoon, supposedly to wait for his ultimate day in court. However, his very first action was to prove he was a critical flight risk, completely validating the deepest fears of law enforcement. Instead of going home to rest, he immediately hailed a taxi cab and instructed the driver to take him directly to Los Angeles International Airport. He desperately intended to illegally flee the country forever. But the determined FBI, tirelessly watching his every single move, was one massive step ahead. Just as he was in the busy international terminal attempting to check in, a specialized task force swarmed his location once again. He was rapidly captured, physically subdued, and ultimately dragged back to a dark jail cell, this time on a strict, unbreakable no-bail warrant. His final, pathetic chance at freedom was gone forever. This is where the story takes a dark turn, revealing the true depths of his depravity. In August 2023, the highly anticipated murder trial officially commenced. Gareth Purshouse finally faced a jury of his peers. His defense attorneys confidently presented a narrative so deeply absurd, it completely insulted the basic intelligence of everyone present in the quiet courtroom. They audaciously claimed that he only broke into her private house to peacefully talk about their broken past, and deliberately brought the lethal nicotine syringe solely to dramatically commit suicide right in front of her. Even more ludicrously, they desperately argued that Amie, a petite woman weighing barely 115 pounds, aggressively and unprovokedly attacked the massive 220-pound giant. They falsely suggested that she was the true aggressor, forcefully causing him to tragically and accidentally drop her over the high balcony railing entirely in self-defense. The determined prosecution expertly and methodically dismantled these desperate, insulting lies. One by one, Amie's fiercely loyal friends courageously took the witness stand, tearfully painting a heartbreaking, vivid picture of her rapidly escalating terror. The forensic experts presented the irrefutable, indisputable DNA evidence securely found trapped directly beneath her broken fingernails, scientifically proving she fought viciously for her own life against her brutal attacker. But the absolute most powerful and emotionally devastating moment of the entire trial came directly from Amie herself. The lead prosecution read aloud a deeply disturbing, highly detailed email she had written just 30 short days before her brutal murder. In it, she explicitly detailed her immense, suffocating fear that Gareth was dangerously obsessed and actively planning to physically harm her. It was a haunting, undeniable testimony delivered straight from beyond the silent grave. The silent jury listened very carefully. On September 28, 2023, the jury delivered their righteous verdict. They found Gareth Pursehouse completely guilty of first-degree murder, heavily combined with the special aggravating circumstance of patiently lying in wait. A very stern judge subsequently sentenced him to spend the entire remainder of his natural life behind cold iron bars, permanently locked away entirely without the possibility of parole. The truly profound tragedy of Dr. Amie Harwick is deeply rooted in a devastating, undeniably cruel irony. She dedicated her entire brilliant, professional existence to continuously empowering vulnerable, broken women, painstakingly teaching them how to safely escape the extremely toxic grips of severely abusive monsters. Yet, she was ultimately brutally murdered by the exact same terrifying domestic violence she had so passionately fought against every day. Her beautiful, enduring legacy undoubtedly continues to heavily inspire countless strong survivors across the globe to successfully and bravely reclaim their stolen personal power. But the incredibly deep, permanent void left by her horrific, untimely absence can never be properly filled. This case serves as a chilling reminder that a piece of paper cannot always stop a predator. To this day, the devastating reality remains: a brilliant light was extinguished by an unimaginable darkness. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate your valuable time and support. If you enjoyed this content, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement truly helps me create more great videos like this. Leave a comment below with your thoughts. See you soon.